Are you ready to rock, educators? In this episode, we're diving into the heart-pounding world of classroom management for English language learners and special education students. Get ready to unleash your inner classroom rock star as we show you how to turn your teaching experience into the most epic gig of your life. We're about to hit the stage and make classroom management for ELL and SpEd students as electrifying as a sold-out rock concert. Hello, everybody. It's episode 2. And we've got...
Let us do it again.
That's what we do. We celebrate and
I
cheer.
didn't know if it was applause for reaction. We'll give it to you.
I got the golf clap going on. But anyways, and we have another great topic like we always do. Very similar to our first episode. Because, you can't talk about classroom management all in one episode. Episode 2 is about classroom management, but with a English language learning and special education focus, right? And we've got experts here. You know who I am. I'm Daryl, and you know Lauren. We're the host of the friEdCast, but we've got 2 special guests today. Would you like to introduce yourselves to all the millions of listeners and watchers out there?
I'll let Jacqueline go first.
Okay.
Like I just called her name out, right?
What a gentleman.
All right. So I'm Jacqueline. Hello. I am a member of the friEd Tech online team, and I was a behaviorist, and then I was a teacher, and I am special education certified EC through 12, ESL certified EC through 12, GT as well, and also technology integration EC through 12. And we have been doing a lot of English language learner and special education goodies, just mixing them up in our friEd kitchen. Are we staying on the food theme? Because I can take it.
I'd say write it out.
All right. Perfect. So we have been up in the kitchen cooking up some goodies. There we go. And I'm excited to talk about them. Classroom management is something that I'm super passionate about. After I became a teacher, I was a teacher coach. And so I worked with a bunch of different campuses, helping them kind of improve practices, innovation, using technology, different types of things to just make learning better for the students. And then after that, I was like, I have too much free time. And so then I became a therapist. And so now it's kind of a big combo of all the things. And how can I use all this stuff to help students really succeed as best as possible? And so I'm excited to talk about that today.
And we have another special guest.
I was going to say.
And we have Stephen Stone here.
Stephen
Stone, the one and only Stephen Stone that you would ever need to know, right?
I had to throw that in there.
So my background in coming to this, I graduated from college, and I was like, well, not college, university. It's like, well, what can I get into that would give me summers off and paid vacation? And I said, got it. Teaching, right? So going back to get an alternative certification in teaching, the one thing that they put upon us, if you're going to get certified, you're going to get certified as a generalist, but you can speak to ESL and special ed, inclusion style type of settings, because you're going to have to teach all learners. All right. So I'm like, okay, man, this is easy. Like we all had that idea, right? This is going to be easy. I'm going to go ahead and work with the elementary school kids. No brainer, got this. Let me tell you, they don't tell you some things. Go in the classroom, try to dig and learn about all these IEPs and what LEP is. And but we had to learn it, right? If I wanted to become a certified administrator and worked from EC to 12 and then worked on the district level with instructional technology and how to, I would say, teaching teachers how to use technology before they can infuse technology for all students. Now I would say I drew the line where I didn't too much work with assistive technology, but if it came along, then I would step my toe into that. But how am I qualified to talk about this? Being certified, working with such students where like it was, and I'm gonna give you one example. A principal came to me and said, we're gonna give you the ESL students, and when you take the state test, right? Your students take the state test, it counts for the status of the campus and also inclusion kids. So I figured out a way how to work with those students And within 2 to 3 years, scores rose drastically for the ESL and inclusion type students. So I love talking about this. Even myself, I was like, I needed help when I was going to school. And I don't believe I really got the services that I really needed until I
Mm.
started understanding what those services were, becoming a teacher and learning about the services that have all also assisted me in my current job role.
That's funny. So I was at alt certification too, and I will I will never forget just feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so much to this whole world of supporting every type of learner that I don't remember ever even seeing. I'm sure it was happening when I was like an actual student in the classroom, but there's just so much that goes into supporting students with specific learning differences or learning needs.
And I like what you just said, Lauren. When you were in the classroom, maybe as a student going through the
Mhm.
process, you didn't know the various type of services were there. And I think that's what master teachers do,
Mhm.
being able to reach every student without really like calling it out that we're giving these modifications or these accommodations. We're just following you in right into the program or whatever it is.
Yeah. And everyone, I feel like everyone has also seen it where it's gone completely wrong, right? Oh, we lost Steven. Oh, there he
There he
is.
is.
What a
We
bounce back.
lost you for like a quick second.
It's like, I'm done. I said my piece. See you later, y'all.
He's like,
Mic dropped.
I'm out. But I think we've also seen it done very poorly too, where it's like pretty clear that students are feeling that they're getting extra supports or that they're being separated from their peers to go do different types of assignments, things like that. And I've just never seen that work out.
Yeah, especially whenever you get to those upper elementary grades, that's when I started noticing that the students that needed accommodations would actively turn them down because that's about the time that your brain starts to realize and notice the differences in other students and realize that, oh my goodness, different. I don't like that. That's bad. I don't want to be different than my peers. So they will reject those things that they really need to be academically successful in the classroom. And it's such a line of wanting to respect that autonomy and also knowing that they need these things in place. And really, it's a tough balance. It's a tough line to dance for sure. But finding ways to do that honor the confidentiality. And I know we talk about that in some of our courses, the confidentiality aspect. And it's more than just the legal aspect. Yes, don't get fired. All right. We don't want any legal aspects being.
Don't get sued.
Don't get sued. Just like a really good life motto in general.
Don't get fired and don't get sued.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Like we've
Yeah.
Don't
really
get fired and don't get
Don't get
sued.
That
Don't
is the
get
title of
fired
this
and don't
episode.
get sued. Yes.
exactly.
Now
Great
you
life.
all were leading towards something that I don't want to get us off into like the deep end of it. But when we start talking about creating an environment, not where those students feel like, hey, I'm an outcast or there's something special about me that, like Jacqueline said, they want to deny these services. But if you create that culture with their peers to say that, hey, we all need help. So some days your friend may need help more than others. You may need help just a little bit, but we're all here to help each other because also the students can help in those accommodation style type areas.
Yeah, having buy-in from the whole community, being your classroom of we're all at different levels and we all need different supports here and there, and having it be more of I guess that I'm choosing to get this support rather than I'm being told to get this support.
There you go.
I think have a huge impact on kids for sure.
And also letting them see the power of that support, because at this point they don't really have the connections made of, oh, this isn't just something that they're doing. I actually need this and it will benefit me in the long run and in the short term too. And so even kind of giving them a little bit of that wiggle room so that they can see what it's like without that. And so that they see it's something that is a good tool. And then also removing the shame of it, because we all learn differently. We all have different tools that we use to learn. And some person's tool might look different than another person's tool. And so that kind of goes back to, Stephen, what you were talking about, the culture of the classroom. It's not just student to student, it's really the classroom as a whole. Because if you dive into that as a class and make sure that there is no shame and there's no, or it's minimized shame, minimized stigma to getting these types of supports, and really highlighting that differences are cool, and that kind of is what makes us unique, then it changes the conversation around needing those supports.
Now you're making me add on to this, and hopefully we're not taking over the conversation, but hopefully I was going to bring up that word stigma that you use, like to take the sting out of it, to take the stigma away. Just say, hey, this support is available to everyone that's in this classroom. Building that community to say that, watch this. We do know that, I know we're talking about ELL and special education learners, right? Those who have received those labels, or they have a plan for the teacher to make sure that in your teaching, you're meeting the needs of this particular student, this particular individual. But if we say this is for any and everybody, because we do have some students that are in the class that they need those services, but when they get tested, it doesn't come across as they need, no, you're too above, or you're right at the line, or, so, we just make it available to everybody, where everybody can be successful. And so when the services are needed or need to be implemented, then everybody, and then especially that student who mainly selected to receive those services, they don't have to feel that embarrassment of really using those services.
So a good example might be, making or adding audio to your slides to help, a student who would actually truly need that support to help them read whatever's on the slide. But then also, if it's there for everybody, why wouldn't we all take advantage of that? That's not removing rigor.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're not making it easier for a kid to understand the content. You're making it easier for them to access it. And that everybody needs that, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Vocabulary support is vocabulary support is vocabulary support. So the same methods that are supporting ELL or students with special education needs, they're supporting other students, because everyone's vocabulary is developing. It's developing at different rates, but it's all still developing. So those methods, and I know this is a polarizing topic, but I love a good closed caption. I still love closed captions.
I watch all my shows with closed captions on, every single one.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I don't
do
know
the
why.
same thing.
It's comforting. I like to just, I don't know, make sure.
Listen, I only turn closed captions on when I have the TV muted. When the TV is on, them closed captions have to go. And I know my wife and
you
I
find
and
them distracting.
Struggle. Yeah. We sometimes struggle. They want to come in, turn the remote on, trying to turn these captions off.
Because you're focusing on the bottom of the screen and you're not seeing the full picture. But
it's like you're reading a book. Okay.
Yeah, it helps me understand what's going on more.
I was going to say, I feel like I've uncovered a bit of a comprehension problem of my own, because
that's my barrier.
Like understanding shows a lot better once I had the captions on underneath.
And it helps you focus on the show, where I'm like, I got to
auditory processing was just not hitting.
Maybe that's what it is. So we did, for one of our courses, we talked with a panel of people. Stephen was on that, about some basics of special education and what that's like in the classroom, a variety of topics. And one of the panelists was talking about how they had a student who had ADD, and she just doodled the whole time, but she told him, I have to do this. I am listening. And that's same. Maybe that's what the closed captioning is. I'm learning so much about myself right now. Read closed captioning so that I will stay focused, because otherwise my brain's like, oh, look, we could also do something over here too.
Yeah. Or I'm scrolling on my phone or something like that, but I can slow down and pay full attention to one thing if it's all going on up on the screen.
Exactly. I do have actually something else to add to that, though. Okay. Have y'all seen How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
The show, so there's this one episode where the main guy, I think his name's Ted, and he's very smart. At this point, he's like a college professor, an architect or something. and he's teaching his students, and he's talking about this architect, and he's like, he's such a chameleon of design. He is a chameleon of function. And they are like, are you trying to say the word chameleon? And he's like, no, chameleon.
I think I've heard it that way.
Because he had never heard the word and seen the word paired at the same time. And I always talk about this when it comes to building fluency with ELL, or really anybody. I was an avid reader growing up, but I read a lot, but I didn't have somebody sit there and read things to me out loud normally. So there were more times than I'd like to admit that I would come across a word and I could break it down root word. I knew exactly what it meant in context. Did I know how to pronounce it? Hard no, I didn't. And that happens with our students, though. They will see these words, and that translates to a lack of confidence in literacy. And a lack of confidence is one of the top things that prevents ELL and students with special education needs from contributing contributing authentically. Because they don't feel confident in what they're bringing to the table.
Interesting.
No, you're totally right.
I'm gonna put a joke in there. Chameleon. There's a friend of mine, and we may conversate. The word GALA. How do you pronounce that? GALA.
Gala.
Did you say gala?
I was going to say gala.
Some people say gala, right? So he said, wait a minute, Stephen. If it's GALA, where do you get gala from? It's gala.
It's the English language.
English is not. Oh, English is absolutely not a chill language to learn.
It is not.
And honestly, that was I always had a quick win with we call them multilingual learners. I know there's a bunch of different like terms that you can use. I know ELL is probably the most common, but one of the quickest wins that I could have is like basically just starting the conversation with like, you're learning more than one language. I'm so impressed. I only know one.
Yes.
You know,
awesome.
You speak at this point at least twice as many languages as I do.
Yes.
I'm so impressed. You're so smart.
That is such a common, I don't even want to say it's a common misconception, but it's okay. So the multilingual, I like the emphasis on that. And even though, yes, it's mostly called an English learner, English language learner, it is normally at least their second language that they're learning. They're being
at a minimum
into that. Yeah. Yes. And that alone is so impressive. It's so impressive that they're doing that.
They know twice or thrice as many words as we do. I mean, as I do.
Exactly. And I taught computer science too. So it's like, all right, well, in my class, you're not only also actively learning English at this point, but you're learning a coding language. So now you're about to be speaking 3 languages and so on. And so
take that resume.
Just reframing it as this really impressive, super smart thing that they're doing. That relationship was off to such a good start after that.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
I did want to ask, so this episode's coming out like beginning of November, end of October. And at this point, especially if you're a new teacher, and there's so many new teachers right now, you're starting to almost wrap your head around everything that your students are going to need to get through this school year. I think there's this like, September is just feeling it all out, and you're usually reviewing whatever they learned the year prior, and things like that. And then October, everything just like hits. And so for a new teacher or new-ish teacher at this point in the school year, what would be, if you were still an instructional coach, either Stephen or Jacqueline, if you're still an instructional coach, what would you be telling people to either start doing or one kind of, game-changing tip that would make the rest of their school year go a little bit smoother?
Mine is 100% relationships with your students, 100%, because before we are teachers or students or daughters or whatever, we're humans and we thrive on connection. And no child is going to give a crap what you are doing, what you're saying, especially if you're a new teacher and they can smell it on you, they will not care because they don't feel cared for. So having those relationships, getting connected with them, and not just in like, I mean, but truly getting to know your students. And there are a million excuses in the world that we could all give as to why you can't. Well, no, but they really are XYZ, or no, my co-teacher told me about this student, or I have too many kids. You can say that. You can spend the time doing that and spend the time working through your discipline referrals and trying to catch up all of your instructional minutes because you're having to do classroom management. Or you can spend the time building relationships and minimize that and have a strengthened classroom culture. You're going to spend the time either way. Just which way are you going to spend it?
Which I kind of hear from that is like, do you want to do proactive work or do you want to do reactive work?
Exactly.
It's going to take time either way.
Yes, it is. And that is, it's so funny because people do say, I just don't have the time to get into that. I've got too much going on. And I get that.
It's just
You're
not a
going to have a lot
priority.
going on too with all those office referrals and parent calls and stop talking, and the looks.
Yeah.
And the look.
Oh, we didn't do our look.
Yeah, it's okay. We had such great conversation.
Yeah. Stephen, what do you think? Oh, he's giving us a look.
Oh, jeez.
He says, "I'll wait."
I took a glimpse at a square, and I would.
Yeah.
I puckered.
Okay, wait. Hold on.
You pucker?
I sure did.
All right.
The all weight came up last episode too, and we were always told to absolutely never use the all weight because then you'll be waiting till you die.
But on building relationships, we know that never stops. So when people say, I don't have time to do that, well, you do have the time to do it because it should be ongoing and not just something as an add-on, but something where you're really trying to get to know your students. But I would say at this point, more so just continuing to be that encouraging factor, especially when you're working with students who need that little extra support. And then at times, call them out on their efforts and whatever they're doing. So that way, that's a sense of encouragement as well. And just including them in on everything what's going on in the classroom, and just continue to encourage other students to be patient with that student. So where you are now, I would say always make sure too, and I talk about this sometimes, too, it starts with your lesson planning, to come across, how do you want to come across? How do you want this lesson to turn out? How do you want everyone to interact? And so maybe go look at your lesson plans and see how you're adapting to every learner in the classroom. And if you use these one or two strategies, teaching strategies, how can it maximize the learning time?
Which comes back to that same theme, right? Of being proactive instead of reactive in the support that you're giving. And I would agree 1000% that it all comes down to lesson planning too. Once I started planning ahead for what kids might need, it went so much smoother in class. So much smoother.
Ooh, also want to add this because you just made me think about this. What this is about to be November. Put the students in charge of their own learning. Because by now we should be making that transition because, well, no learning should be teacher-centered. All learning should be student-centered. And if you more so now start putting more so of that learning on them and whatever we're doing, and they can become the soldiers of the classroom, and your classroom could be humming come January, April, and then especially at the end of the year, May or June or wherever you get out, you'd be like, wow, I always thought about it. Every year I was in the classroom, and all of us probably thought about this. Man, what major difference it is from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Totally.
I would do this thing called a day of silence. It sounds so like dun dun dun, but at the end of the year,
right on point.
I'm here. I'm here with the sounds.
Yes, perfection.
Sorry to disturb, but go ahead.
Oh, that was not disturbing. At any time, you come in. Yes.
One more time. One more. No. Okay, I'll stop.
The day of silence.
Honestly, it's the eyes for me. Look at that.
It's look number 2. So.
Oh, we have options?
You have options
Well,
depending on the
you
day.
got to keep it fresh, you
Yeah,
know?
you got to, keep them on the toes. Okay,
Go
so I
on.
did this thing called, you know what's called.
The
We
day of
just, you know,
silence.
The
yes.
day of silence.
So, and basically, it was teaching the students to be their own well-oiled machine, to be autonomous, to be independent. I wanted them to be such problem solvers so that they could, I know this sounds kind of silly, but solve their own problems. We want to teach students problem-solving techniques and everything, but then when they come to us with all these little things, we fix their problems right away. And it's not even just content-based issues like math or, history or ELA, whatever. It is basic life things. I always talk about this, how when I was teaching 5th grade, the first day of school, I would have students come up to me, oh, my pencil's broken. And I would turn and I'm, oh man, I hate when that happens. Oof. Then I would just turn back and I would keep going. And they would stand there in just utter confusion. No, my
Like what?
like
What?
they
like
were
sharpening a
sorting out basically. But they had no problem solving skills built to where they could not even formulate a question. They couldn't even say, this is my request. They literally just came, told me the problem.
Mhm.
Because normally, teachers, you're busy all the time. And so it's easier just, okay, fine, here, take that, go.
Yeah.
It's easier to do it in the moment, but in the long term, it really does affect. It affects things. And that goes for all special population students, gifted students. There are some gifted students that I had that, you've got your gold star, you really
Absolutely.
type A, and I don't even like saying that, but they really enjoy that external validation. And if you have them look inward, they also short out. That's not something that they're a big fan of. It's not easy.
Mhm.
But so the day of silence was really getting them to where at any point in the day, they knew what to do. They knew where to look for what TEKs were our focus, what our content area was for the day. They knew where to find assignments. They knew exactly what platform they could find it on. They knew what the device schedule was. They knew where to go for bell stuff. And it was a long process of herding drunk kittens, basically, to where they were kind of bebopping their way through the school year and it was a hot mess until they learned and they worked out those kinks. It even got to the point where if they needed to go to the bathroom, they knew to assess, is it close enough to where I can hold it? Like, is the bell going to ring soon? If not, do I have anything happening right now that I can't step away from? Who do I need to tell? Who do I need to ask? But it built such a culture of trust in our classroom. And so anyways, the whole point is at the end of the year, I stayed silent the entire day. I didn't tell them anything. I didn't answer any questions. They ran the whole day themselves. They got their work done. They knew how to go to the bathroom, when to go to the bathroom. Of course, I still had some students come up to me and they would say, okay, well, I have to go to the bathroom. So I'm not going to ask you.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to ask you. I'm not telling you. I'm just saying it near you.
The words are just leaving my mouth.
Yes, it was such a hard habit to break for them,
Yeah.
which you want that, and you want them to do
Yeah.
that. It was good. It just taught them autonomy in their own problem solving. So if they did have an issue, like a broken pencil, they knew where to go. They even knew before sharpening a pencil, is somebody talking? Is somebody speaking? Is this going to be interrupting something? They were taught to kind of be aware of their surrounding, be aware of what other people were working on as well. So it built that sense of awareness, empathy, community, and problem solving. And those skills translate chef's kiss beautifully to standardized tests. I kind of hate that they do, but they do. Because if you're faced with a problem, the same exact things that you need to get through that are the same exact things that we were working on. Grit, stepping back, collecting information, and then making a decision, and then reflecting, reevaluating, assessing the situation, and moving forward. So it went really well.
So a lot of what we talked about in this episode is supporting our special education students and our ELL students through strong relationships. And so I wanted to give Jacqueline and Stephen a moment to talk about our, friEd Online supports that we have for that and our in-person supports that we have for that. And I know Jacqueline's been busting her behind on the Rock the Classroom. It's in a trilogy. They don't really go together, but they kind of do.
Well, Lauren, yes. It's now will only be referred to as the trilogy. That's
the trilogy.
I will accept no notes, no feedback, and no follow-up questions. That is what it is called now. So yes, about the trilogy.
Yes, tell us about it.
Okay, so we've got the basic Rock the Classroom, where I really look at behavior principles, the science of what the kids are doing and why. You might learn even some things about yourself, and looking at the process of what kind of like the chain sequence. We get into the nitty gritty of that, but knowing the behind the scenes of it, not just the motivation, but the science behind it really does help. And you'll see the science parallels in a whole bunch of other situations. So the basic Rock the Classroom talks about that. We look at student-led learning. We walk through how to design a classroom, not just structurally and layout wise, but culture wise, so that your students are empowered, they're engaged, all the things you want them to be. And then we also look at some SEL aspects to it and really look at what the data says that SEL does to the classroom and what it does academically. And then we do it again twice. We do one that is ELL specific. So there are specific needs that English learners have, multi-language learners have. And this Rock the Classroom, the EL version, really addresses those specific needs for it, especially when it comes to the engagement portion. It takes a lot of the cultural considerations in. And then lastly, we have the Rock the Classroom SpEd version. And this looks at what that looks like, what all those awesome classroom management tactics and the science of behavior and all this looks like through the lens of neurodivergent learners. So whether it is something that is a physical, behavioral, cognitive, whatever kind of extra support that they need, we look at it through that lens. The trilogy.
I'll never forget when we launched it, and half of our team said, wait, where was this when I was beginning to teach? Like we needed this.
and same too, because it was like a lot of, yes, I had learned this stuff going into the classroom, but then there are some things you just got to be in front of the students to know and to really experience. So I wish that I had this organized, that someone could just say, hey, here, just do this, just do this.
I honestly think information like what's in our Rock the Classroom trilogy is almost more beneficial once you have struggled in the classroom for a minute. Like your 21-year-old who's
you're correct.
It's just not going to land or be retained in the same way that if you're actively in the classroom and just trying that little thing here and there every day, that's when you get so much better. And that's when that information is meaningful.
You need to have like some days where you're just fetal position in the classroom, questioning all your life choices, maybe like curled up under your desk, crying to yourself. You need a couple of those. You need to get kind of smacked around by education.
I remember the days.
Just a little smacked around. Yeah. I would picture myself getting into my car and then peeling out of the parking lot.
Yes, that too. You need those days. You need them for that context. That's such a great
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, so that's our Fried Online stuff.
Yes.
But we do in person and hybrid too.
Yes, we certainly do. In-person live sessions, we come up with this fabulous word of synchronous learning, of fried led experience, fried live experiences. But one thing, the reason why I want to be so much a part of this discussion today, being given the title of Director of Specialized Learning, working very closely with Jacqueline to get the online modules up and going for the teachers who need that extra support. Now we're talking about students needing the support, but the teachers need the support in how to adequately reach such students. So we even have face-to-face virtual webinars that we can do for your classroom, campus, school district, whatever level you want us to come in on, we can do that. And then we can also couple it with the fried online courses. And you may say, well, what courses do we have? Well, we have student voice, the flip side of learning. We have a course that we're working on right now, the accessibility tools for English language learners and SpEd learners, whether you're using a Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. If you're using Google Docs or Microsoft Word, there are some accessibility tools there for any type of learners. And we also have GT courses as well. Lauren, I like what you said. Oftentimes we want to throw beginning teachers in here. and into these type of courses. Yes, it's great, wonderful, come and learn, but we know that it will work for any teacher and what level and whatever level they come in on. But I was circling back to a course that's called on Friday Online. If y'all can think about it, it'll come to mind. It would be Rock the Classroom, right? Grade that anybody can get into just right off the bat and
Mhm.
start learning. And then I would say our face-to-face courses can come in that can
Mhm.
help and support that to continue. Like we all need a little bit of hand holding, right? So we know every online system online may not just work for everybody, but we definitely like to couple it with that. So then we can come behind and there's any follow-up questions you may have, where we can hold your hand and guide you in through those processes too. So hire us. We're ready to come or you can get a seat in Pride Online. We're ready for you to engage. We're ready, 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 and then to show you how EdTech tools can support any and every learner, especially those learners who are of the English language development, SpEd, or GT.
I love
Yes.
that. Couldn't say it better myself.
This has been friEdCast, brought to you by the crew at friEdTech. Thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to the next time in another episode of friEdCast. Have a wonderful day.
All right. And everyone give them the look.
Nailed it. Oh, and the look.
All right.